Okay, Brett, let's begin.
Thanks, Susan. Well, first and foremost, on behalf of Mildura Regional Development and Pico Play, I'd like to welcome everyone for joining us today. The idea behind the webinar is to provide some further information on our LightState project. But I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land of which we gather today across wherever you may be dialing in from. But from where I am, the first people of the Middle Valley, I'd like to pay my respects to elders both past and present, but also consider those that are emerging and pay my respects to any Aboriginal people who are joining us today. Well, LightState, what an exciting project for the Sunraysia region, so Mildura and Wentworth coming together and producing an exceptional visitation opportunity where light knows no borders. If we can go to the next slide, please. Susan, the webinar will go for approximately 30 to 40 minutes in duration, and it'll be recorded and available to view on demand afterwards. Any questions that you may have can go into the Q&A box, and these will be answered at the end. So we'll have a session for that. The initial part is very much about the information. In terms of the speakers today, obviously myself, I'm Brett Millington. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Mildura Regional Development. I have a background in the Victorian water industry primarily, but the last 2 years I've been CEO of Mildura Regional Development, the Economic Development and Tourism Board for the Mildura Rural City Council region. And clearly, in this instance, we work very closely with the Wentworth Shire Council. So very much about regional development. In terms of the other speakers, we have Noel Dempsey, who's the Business Director at Pico Play. Noel has a background in theme parks, leisure and entertainment and tourism, and a significant number of companies, as you can see there, in that tourism-related space. Pico provided us that expertise in terms of the business case development and also about the theme, I guess the entertainment attraction and the like. And finally, you'll hear from Bruce Munro. Bruce is obviously a world-renowned artist, and I'll talk a little bit more about him later. So the agenda for today will be very simple. The welcome and introductions. We'll talk a little bit about Mildura and why we're talking about this LightState. Also a bit of an introduction to the concepts, summary around the project. We'll hear from Bruce about the designs, a bit of background to some of the past projects, such as Field of Lights and Uluru. We'll then hand across to Noel to talk a little bit about the research that we've done in the background, understanding the financial implications, what the expression of interest entails, and then we'll deal with some of the frequently asked questions that we've already had and also open the floor for further questions and show you how you might go about registration. Next slide, please. Hopefully from that short video, you'll give you a sense of the type of attraction that we're talking about in terms of that light experience and the combination of emotive elements as well as the visual. So why do we want to create LightState in our region? It's really about becoming that new iconic attraction, a reason to visit Mildura and stay longer. What we know is that we have a really great hero product in our region called the Murray River. However, it's not a differentiator in a lot of ways because you have other towns that are also based on the Murray River, and they may have a closer proximity to the markets that we're aiming for. So what is it that we can create as an attraction that will help bring people here and also to stay longer? If we go to the next slide, please. Just a bit of background and some insights. So we are a tri-state region. We have visitors from three border states, so Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia. And as you can see there, over the last 4 years up until 2019, we had that steadily increasing number of nights of visitors staying. The number of the thousands of visitors were also increasing. And you know, clearly with COVID implications, some of those numbers have been hit, but it shows us that we do have that potential for greater growth. And if we look at those visitation where they originated from in that 2019 period, you can see significantly there that we do have a spread of visitors, either from regional Victoria, a significant number from Melbourne, also from New South Wales, but also from South Australia and in particular Adelaide. So great opportunities for us all. And what we also like to see in terms of those total night stays is those key regions where people are coming from are staying. So, you know, South Australia, New South Wales, Melbourne, and also there Queensland, having a significant number of those nights stayed. We project that there'll be about a 20% increase in visitors due to LightState. And also we have this unique opportunity to capitalise on the airport that we have in Mildura. So we connect to 3 capital cities in Adelaide, Sydney and Melbourne, as well as other flights between Broken Hill and the like as well. Next slide, please. So what is LightState? It's creating a feeling, a theme, and building on a project of 2 light installations by Bruce Munro. And you can see there that short video that we've created to capture people's imagination and draw them to LightState, where light knows no borders. We've all suffered through significant border closures and lockdowns. Here's a great opportunity to demonstrate a couple of installations from Bruce Munro, unique and showing where light knows no borders. And that was the launch of the Expression of Interest. So in terms of the summary of the project, the timeline, we're looking to open in spring of 2023. Significant milestones include initiating the design installations from May of next year. So trying to work into that space now. A phase 1 of 2-year run associated with the original contract, and then a 3-year extension as an option. The installations will be in 2 locations. Now, I talk about locations given that we've identified the landscapes in which these installations should be located, and the type of environments we might be looking for. That doesn't necessarily mean we've chosen specific options. We're happy to involve further negotiations around that as well. But ideally, you want to be a distance from the light in order to get the true ambience of the installations, and that means having them outside of that, large populous areas of Mildura and Wentworth, but also being in close proximity for that to get the value of the visitation. In terms of pricing, we're estimating that it'll be $30 for a single ticket. The combo ticket we're talking about is to be able to visit both shows. So effectively $30 for one show, $45 for 2. That increases the number of stays and then obviously has an impact on the turnover that's able to be generated. Next slide, please. So about Bruce. Bruce is an English Australian artist and renowned for producing scale immersive site-specific light installations. He's had more than 45 exhibitions globally, a number running currently. You will have seen some of the video footage that we showed there before. And in particular, his Australian works included Ullaroos Field of Lights and also the Field of Light Avenue of Honour in Albany. So some great iconic attractions to a region, and very much a hero product. To talk further about the projects, we've had Bruce do some recordings, obviously based in the UK and kind of stuck there at the moment. We've recorded this earlier, so I'll introduce Bruce now to cover off on the actual installations themselves.
These installations are very different from what I've created before in several ways. The first, which is the fibre optic symphonic orchestra, is a sound light installation where we have actually been able to individually create instruments on their own in en masse, so that you do get this feeling that you're standing in a full orchestra. The key part of the installation is inspired by my days living in Australia. It's the iconic Hills hoist. The light trail is very different in that it is one colour of light. It is a warm white incandescent glow. It's meant to be a meditative experience to bring people's feeling of peace and quiet, and to just really notice the landscape around you. So I'm hoping that they contrast not only with each other, but very much so with the field of light that is at Uluru. The inspirations I've drawn from to create these works are really from my childhood and early years in Australia. I think that everything journeys with you through life, and you're always approaching the things that you love, but seeing them from slightly different angles. So that's quite exciting. Obviously, the Trail of Light, the original inspiration, came from Kim by Rudyard Kipling, and it's by this wonderful Lama who discovers the river of it's called the River Arrow. It's where Buddha fires an arrow, a mythical arrow, and it lands in the ground, and this stream of enlightenment comes out of the ground. And there is this sense that it's this magical stream of light and peace. So I really, that inspired me when I was 16, and all these years later, that idea still sits in my memory. I would like people who visit these installations to come away with, and this is very simple, feeling that they've connected them with each other, with the landscape around them, and go home with a happy heart. I don't think I would wish anything more. I think if people can get that from the work, then I'm a happy man.
Thanks, Susan. So just in terms of the locations, as we've said, this gives you a bit of an overview of where the opportunities we've identified are, and the landscapes that we've been working in terms of the designs. So Mildura being a central iconic location, airport, the things that connect the region together. And then the opportunities being at Lake Coleraine as one environment, and also in that outback landscape that is just at the doorstep of Wentworth. So being able to pull those two elements together and demonstrate the true beauty of our wonderful region. Next slide, please. So you probably heard Bruce talk about the trail of light and that arrow and the stream of enlightenment. And that's the concept that we've explored with this 5,000 fireflies and being a 45 to 60 minute experience, reflective and meditative, Bruce alluded to. and being able to immerse yourself whilst walking around the trail and being surrounded by the fireflies themselves, the fibre optic lights. They're quite light. When there is any sort of a breeze, they tend to float in the air like fireflies, but very much an immersive and reflective piece. The next one is the Fibre Optic Symphonic Orchestra, or FOSO, and the idea being that we would intend to embed it into a natural desert landscape. And there's some great opportunities that we've identified in terms of spaces so far. As Bruce alluded to in his discussion, it's about building around the iconic Australian Hills hoist as part of that element. And there's about 108 to 130 Hills hoist sculptures that will be in place and positioned in regard to this. It's a blend of light and music fused as a sensory experience, and will embed local Indigenous music score as well. So the whole concept is that this is a large-scale symphonic orchestra with light that helps to match up against the digital music score that you can experience from afar and then get up close and immerse yourself amongst it. Next slide, please. Some examples of the work that Bruce has done. If you haven't been to the Field of Lights at Uluru, it gives you a bit of a perspective there. You know, the wonderful scenic backdrop that is Uluru, but on the right-hand side there, you can see the wonderful images of the way the light creeps around, and people are able to go and have their senses enlightened. The ticket prices there are, you know, $44 for an adult, $31 for a child. Just recently being extended for 10 years. They tied in VIP packages as well. And there's a number of, well, a very significant number of 5-star TripAdvisor reviews. And the other example is the Avenue of Light, so at Albany that we spoke about earlier. In terms of the market research, at this point, I'll hand over to you, Noel, and give people some background in
Yeah, thanks very much, Brett and Bruce. Yeah, Noel Dempsey, I'm the Business Director for Pico Play. We're consultants that specialise in leisure, entertainment and attractions all over the world, and excited to be part of the project. So this is a partnership between Bruce and Mildura Regional Development. Our job's in the middle there to bring a great idea to life, to operationalise it, to make sure that it happens, reflect the design that will work for both locals, the site, residents, and ultimately investors and operators. So the first port of call for us was to take the concept. We all thought it was great, but we'll take the concept to research. So we went to residents and current tourists. And it was quite overwhelming, the support we received from residents and tourists. Yes, they would go. Yes, they would bring family, visiting family and relatives. They like the idea that it gives them something to do at night and would extend their stay. So 87% very likely to go. Love the price point. It appeals to all demographics, young, old, grey nomads. So it's got broad-based appeal. But importantly, we wanted to know, would new people come to Mildura? So we went into Melbourne and Adelaide market segments that were interested to visit regionally, particularly post-COVID. And when we saw the lights, a lot of people do know about Field of Lights, but you know, the accessibility to Mildura makes it even more appealing. So the same level of support and appeal was across the board from everyone. That gave us a lot of confidence to move forward with the business plan. Thanks, Susan. So how does it all play out? Well, Mildura Regional Development is the enabler to make this happen, because the real prize is in the benefit to the visitor economy for both Mildura and Wentworth. As Brett said earlier, the region's going really well and growing in its own right. This will just take it to another level. So we're forecasting that, you know, by 2023, there'll be about 650,000 visitors in the region anyway, staying around about 3.5 nights. Now, the idea behind a really well-priced light show to improve conversion and get as many people to stay means that conservatively, we think the shows will drive total visitation by more than 20%. And that is conservative based on every other forecast of Bruce's shows. And if they increase the length of stay for visitors by one night from the current 3.5, the total impact to the economy is between 100 and 150 million. Both direct spend at the show, but most importantly, secondary spend, accommodation, petrol, hospitality. And that obviously drives jobs and economic benefit for the region. So that's the real prize that we're shooting for Mildura Regional Destination, to drive the awareness to live, invest and be in this region. So the highlights for the project as we've seen them would be, we think the two shows have the potential conservatively to drive more than 400,000 in visitation. We estimate that 70% of visitors will go to one show and 30% will go to two. So unique visitors is about 300 odd thousand. 300 odd thousand of 650, it remains a conservative number for people attending the show. The show will operate, it won't operate every day of the year, but will be seasonally adjusted so that during peak season, school holidays, you'll see both shows operating 7 days a week, but out of peak, you'll see a much lower level of events throughout the week. The ticketing revenue alone should be in excess of $10 million per annum. And the event revenue, which incorporates all of the secondary spend, such as food and beverage, merchandise, photo opportunities, glamping even, we think has the ability to drive about $22 million. Per capita admissions is around about $22. There will be a child price, but it's a really well-priced show, so we don't think prices have been a barrier. That was part of the research. The total project capex is $8 to $9 million. It's important to say, you've heard from Bruce and Brett, but you don't buy these shows off the shelf. They're uniquely designed to fit the location, the land, and it takes a while to develop these unique concepts. And there's nothing more than unique than fireflies and Australian Hills hoist, but the project capex $8 to $9 million. The project we think will run for 5 years. It may run for 2, but we're confident of the success to take the option for 5 years, which is something we believe government will support. A long-term investment in the region to drive economic return. So every dollar that government can support the project helps to de-risk it and make sure that it happens and drives a good return. And we think governments will look favourably to support the project in the near term. So without doubt, withstanding the benefits to the broader economy, the event, the attraction in its own right drives significant returns, particularly if we get the support from government. Thank you. So that's what we're about today. MRD is obviously the enabler, but it's not necessarily the operator of this attraction going forward. We just want to make it happen with them. And our job is to help create a framework to make that happen. So the expressions of interest that we're asking for now involves 3 areas. One is for investors, those that want to invest in what is an attractive project in the region, and see the benefits that are realised in your back door. At your back door, you may be an investor and an operator, so choose to not only invest but operate. Field of Lights at Uluru is run by the Voyagers Group in totality. So that's one investor and operator. That may be the case in this situation. Beyond that, you may be an operator that is interested in providing event ticketing services, or also the provision of other services such as food and beverage, merchandise, photography, transport. If you're interested, let us know. That could also extend down to sponsorship opportunities and the like. And lastly, key stakeholders. I mean, it's our objective to make sure that we get people involved in the project that are a part of the community, part of the tourism fabric, and want to be involved to make sure that it happens. So we encourage as many people to register their interest. It's on the website, lightstate.com.au. Tell us your details, what you're interested in, why you're interested, and more importantly, start to tell us a little about your capability and experience to help to deliver the project. When that registration is received, and we're in that process, that window now, we're doing the market briefing today. It'll close towards the end of November. We'll evaluate all of those registrations of interest and put together a preferred shortlist of applicants that we believe have the right skills. That group will then be asked to put in a detailed proposal. To do that, you'll sign an NDA because the project is commercial in confidence. You'll see the detail of a business plan that extends up to close to 200 pages, and importantly, an investor prospectus for the plan that we're putting forward to help deliver the show and what type of business return can be expected. Those proposals will close near the end of January, start of February, and a preferred shortlist will then be put together to develop what I'd call a special purpose vehicle that will help to deliver the project, and the contract, the supply, the design. That group will be involved intimately in shaping our thinking for the final product. But at this stage, it's spring 2023 when we see the lights come on. Thank you. So that gives you some background. I've got a few questions here that some of these are on the website, and then we'll see if there's any questions that have come today. But let me say, by registering your interest, that gives you the best opportunity to get more specific detail about your level of interest and questions. How long will LightState run for? As I've mentioned, it's 2 years, but more than likely 5 years, which is our preferred option. How many days a week? Again, it'll be seasonally adjusted to meet the demand. That's probably in line with the visitation today. Summer will be busy, Easter, school holidays, and a little bit quieter in the middle of winter. How will COVID affect this? Well, I wish I knew. Our hope is that by the time we get to 2023, the world and the events sector and attractions across the world are better placed to handle sort of major shocks like that. Let's hope that's the case, fingers crossed. I've mentioned that $8 to $9 million is the price of admission to get this product up and running, the CapEx. We believe there will be strong support from government, both state and federal, New South Wales and Victoria and federal, to support a project that drives significant economic return. And we're in the process of having that discussion. Do we apply for each site, New South Wales and Victoria, separately, or is there potential to cover both sites? So this, part of the power is the partnership across the two attractions. That's what LightState's about, working together. So it's unlikely we'd like an operator just to exist, or a ticketing provider just at one site and not the other. There'll be synergies and benefits of scale by having someone that's prepared to look at both installations. What's the impact of the land and power and utilities? This is predominantly pretty light on the land, low power consumption and solar. If required, there will be some power and light infrastructure put in place at both of the sites, but it is a temporary event, if you like, for 5 years. So it'll be interesting to see. It's environmentally pretty good for both locations, or very good. Would my arrangement incorporate a rental arrangement or an upfront cost? Well, it depends on the nature of whether you're an investor or an operator. It's likely that an operator will pay some type of site fee or rental. But again, that's factored into the business plan, and we'd share that with you when we go through the expression of interest. What is the corporate structure? Well, the corporate structure is yet to be worked out because it will depend on the nature of the people that want to be involved in the project. As I said, it can go from one single operator down to a consortium of operators and investors with the right skill set. Less is probably best, but not necessarily a number that I can give you today. So if you're interested, hold up your hand and register is the most important thing to be shared from today. I'm a local business. Can I sponsor this project? Absolutely, if that sponsorship has merit for the overall project and the benefit for the region. So again, register as a stakeholder. It's important that we get the support of everyone locally to make this a roaring success for the region. So those questions are also on the website if you want to get some further detail. From today, might ask if there are, Susan, if there are any other questions that are worthwhile putting to myself or Brett now, feel free to ask us now. But I'll reiterate once more, register your interest. That way you'll get a seat at the table to get more information specific to your needs. And it's an easy process to get involved in. Very exciting project. Susan, is there anything else you'd like to ask us today?
No, not at this stage. Just again, visit the website. You can email us at lightstate@pico.com and we'll happily take your call or answer any queries you may have.
Great.
And you can also contact Mildura Regional Development as well. So our number 03 5021 0599 or info@milduraregion.com.au.
Great. Well, that's fine for me today, Brett. I'll hand back to you to say goodbye to everyone, and we'll see you at the registration table.
Thanks, Noel. Appreciate your time there and very thorough presentation. Susan, no other questions have popped up in the meantime?
No, we're all good.
No, great. Look, as I said, you've got the contact details there. Utilise either our phone number, Pico Play's email, or our email address. And by all means, I encourage everyone now to register your interest and certainly help. Look forward to you helping us deliver this fantastic opportunity and see the lights go on September of 2023 or spring of 2023 as we're aiming for. So without further ado, thank you everyone for attending today and we look forward to working with you into the future.